Welcome back. Mexico's president has strong words for GOP hopefuls. Andrés Manuel Lopez Obrador, Manlo to his friends, pushing back after leading Republican presidential candidates proposed military actions to fight cartels inside Mexico. He called the idea offensive and disrespectful, saying that such moves would not go unanswered. Okay, I want you guys to hear what Ron DeSantis had to say about this, just for a framing. What did Ron DeSantis have to say? He was asked in the debate last week whether or not he would deploy special forces inside Mexico, and he said he would on day one. I think we can hear what Ron DeSantis had to say in the debate.
The President of the United States has got to use all available powers as Commander-in-Chief to protect our country and to protect the people. So when they're coming across, yes, we're going to use lethal force. Yes, we reserve the right to operate.
Okay, Bill, how do you send special forces in? So leaving aside Obrador's understandable peak at being said that he would be stealth invaded by President Ron DeSantis, is there a legal way that you could rationalize how the U.S. government could, without the welcome of a foreign power, send troops into another country?
Well, first of all, I think we need to acknowledge that this situation is created because Joe Biden's completely abandoned the southern border, and we've had millions of people come across. Fentanyl is now one of the leading killers across the country in many cities, especially amongst 18 to 49-year-olds. And so that is the reaction to what this crisis has actually done. In terms of the legal basis, some of the things that we need to acknowledge, the cartels are transnational criminal organizations, not unlike al-Qaeda, not unlike ISIS, who were terrorist organizations who operated in many countries and came across and attacked the homeland. And so if the president can actually fashion a rationale as to why there needs to be an excursion in because of an imminent threat to a border town, there may be a legal basis for that to be done. I think that's a situation of last resort. Diplomacy needs to be the tip of the spear here to get the Mexicans to come back and actually try and secure the border from their side. But we need to do our part. These border towns are suffering under the weight of this.
Kelly, the biggest lie, the most common lie in American politics is on day one. On day one, the moment that I am elected, the earth will soothe itself. Things will be, what did Obama say? The oceans will stop their rise, all of that stuff. Do you really think that if Ron DeSantis was president, on day one, he would send special forces into Mexico to fight the cartels?
I mean, it's a lot to promise for day one, but I will say for voters I've been talking to on the trail, this is the #1 issue. When I ask them, what are the main issues for you? For every person I ask, it's border. And I think for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis to come out with such a strong stance, that really might resonate with these voters that want to see it handled, especially maybe for the more extreme voters that really just want to see this fixed and maybe in any way possible.
Julia, does anybody care, does any American voter care whether Manlo is upset with Ron DeSantis? Does that probably help him in the Republican primaries?
It helps him in the primary. It gives him a soundbite. It gives him something he can use when he's speaking to voters, when he's doing these rallies. But look, this line he has about sending lethal force to the border, this was a part of his border plan that he released, and he's said it a number of times. And it came at a time when he was running, and he still arguably is, trying to run to the right of Donald Trump. So he's trying to out-Trump Trump on the border, and this is how he's doing it.
Okay. He's out illegaling Donald Trump, if that's a word. It's ridiculous. You can't invade a sovereign country and then put billions into Ukraine. It makes no sense. And the International Criminal Organization you're talking about, you can't do that unless you've got cooperation from Mexico. And so there are hundreds of troops at the border under Biden. Millions of dollars are being invested. And the immigration process, or the challenge, still comes under the Democrats as well as the Republicans, even with the wall.
Which is why I said
Trump did not finish.
We'll leave it here. He's going to send special forces and make Mexico pay for it. Okay, coming up.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.